All right, welcome everybody to IS50A, week 2, day 1. The question was asked, how do you record using OBS? And so we might get a Hall of Mirrors effect here. There we go. Yeah. Okay, so what you do with OBS, it's not the easiest thing in the world to set up. Let's see if I can put my picture over it. There we go. Okay. Basically, you can see here I'm recording, but what you have to do is you have to set up your sources here. So like I put a webcam so that you could see my beautiful face here. I put text down here. You don't need to do any of that stuff. The main thing you need to set up is a screen. And so what you do is you click on, you add a source here, you pick screen, and then under the properties, you choose the display that you want to capture, and if you want to capture the cursor or not. And then the screen up here will kind of show you the preview of what it's going to record. And so you basically just pick the screen that has Unreal Engine on it. Like, let's see, reviewing my Japanese vocab here. So 700 vocab words from Genki 1. I just basically play that just when I'm working, and then I just sit there and be like, okay.
Dog.
Okay. So let's put up Epic Game Store here, and then basically I'm recording right now, and it's recording this screen. And so basically you just kind of do your thing, and then when you're done, if you only have one monitor, it's kind of annoying because it's going to start off with like this, right? Because you only have the one screen. That's why I have a 3-screen setup here. So I have Discord here so I can talk to you. I've got OBS on the third monitor, and I got my presentation screen here, and I kind of ping pong back and forth between the three. If you only have one, then it's going to start off like this, and then you just minimize it, and then just do your thing, and then when you're done, just maximize it back up and hit stop recording, and then you've got a recording of your thing. It's not too bad. It's a little bit more weird, I guess. You might have to create a scene first and then add your sources to it. But all you really need is just the screen. And so I've picked screen monitor 2, which is this monitor here, as my source, and then it'll just record off that one. So, is there a way you can record it and submit it after it's due? Because it was due at 1. Yeah. So, like I said earlier in the course, I'm not going to be like letting people turn in homework like at the end of the semester if it was due on week 2, right? Because I did that a year ago, and like I had a student, like I said, they just didn't do anything the entire semester, and then during finals week they were just sitting there like frantically, like it was just a disaster. Like it's kind of a trap. So I'm reasonably tolerant with deadlines in this class. Like I'm not, like when I teach computer science, I'm fairly strict on deadlines. I have a very defined Slack policy and stuff like that. For IS50, it's not that big a deal. Like just have it done, Dino fan, by Thursday. It's not like if you guys turn in an assignment like by the next class, like it's not a big deal. If it's gonna be any longer than that, then I don't know. Talk to me. Like if life happens sometimes. So like I said, I'm not like super like strict in game development, but at the same time, like what I found is that just having infinite, deadlines just ends up actually being a trap for students, and it's not good either. So, okay. So yeah, just having to be by Thursday. It's not a big deal. Not going to knock off any points or anything. Okay. So Samantha, you're still figuring out OBS. Did that help? You can't see anything? Okay. So OBS, set up the screen, pick the right screen here. There you go. Hit start recording. There. That's the 5-second explanation to it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No worries. Just by Thursday is fine. All right. Cool. So we got a lot of stuff to do today. Let's get going. So go ahead and fire up Unreal Engine 5. And so last time we did kind of an introduction to blueprints. We're gonna talk a little bit more about blueprints today. And I'd like to start getting into maybe a little bit of lighting design. Lighting's kind of fun. Like, there are people that are lighting majors. Like you can literally have a master's degree in lighting. Like it's an entire thing. Where is fall 2022? There we are. It's an entire thing, and we're gonna spend like a lecture or two on it. So don't don't think this is by any means comprehensive. But lighting is really important when doing video games. There's some games where the lighting almost entirely controls the mood of the game. So, like, if you think of a game like Cyberpunk, right? Like, if you were just, maybe you've never even played Cyberpunk, but, like, if you just close your eyes and imagine, like, walking around at nighttime in Cyberpunk, like, what lighting do you see? Is this it? Okay. Last class, yes. You told us to ask you how to make things crumble. Yeah. Mode fracture. That's where it is. Okay. And so basically, in the fracture editor, you can. Yeah. Oh, not today though. Okay. That's where I was hiding. So that's the. It's really cool, but today, yeah. I want to talk about lighting because that's a little bit more important than destruction. Destruction's really cool. It really is. So, if it's a good feeling, dark or gloomy, yeah. And so a lot of horror games typically are kind of dark and gloomy, and you don't have good visibility. And the reason for that is, like, in part just because you can't see the monsters. It's scary, Doom 3 took this to a ridiculous extreme. It had pitch black levels, which were not very fun to play. Like, you had a little flashlight, you could shine around, and, like, demons would, like, jump out of the darkness at you and, like, jump scare you. And it was like, okay, all right, fine. Like, that's it. You've done that. But, like, that was the entire game. Like, the entire game was just basically you running around in pitch darkness. You have a little flashlight that's, like, that big. If you see a demon, then you have to switch to your gun. But now you don't have your flashlight out, so it's pitch black. So you just hold down fire and hope the, light coming off your gun is enough to track the demon. It was just a little, it was ridiculous. Like, everyone hated the lighting in Doom 3. Like, I know why they did it. It was to add, like, there's something in the corner, and it's scary. But on top of that, they cheated, right? So, like, you would shine your flashlight around in a room, and then you go to walk out, and it would just, like, spawn a demon in behind you to jump out of the darkness at you, which was just completely unfair. Like, it just felt enormously bad for you to, like, come in with your gun, clear a room, and then as you're stepping out, like, mentally, okay, the room behind me is clear, and it would just go, bloop, here's a demon behind you, rawr, and it attacks you out of the darkness. You're like, come on, guys. Seriously. Okay, how do you add your outline tab back? I removed it and don't know how to put it back. Anytime you have a layout issue, you're going to want to go to Window, Load Layout, UE4 Classic. And that just puts it back the way that I like it. I think it's a little bit easier than the default layout. The default layout hides the content thing. It gives you a lot more screen real estate to, like, look at things. But you have to, like, control space to hide the content. I don't really like it. I think for you guys, UE4 Classic layout is better because all the main pieces are in place. You got your palette over here, you got your content browser down here, and you've still got plenty of screen real estate space over here. So, and then that'll bring back your outliner and your details tab. Now, the one thing I might add to that is the world settings. And so I like to put world settings here as well. World settings allows you to do things like change gravity and change where the kill plane is. So let me show you something. So if you fall off the edge of the world, there's something called a kill plane, but it's 10 meters below the surface. You can see right there, kill Z. All units in Unreal Engine are in centimeters, so this is 10 meters below ground level. Where's ground level? Well, look for the Velociraptor. That is right there. That is 0, 0, 0 in the world. That's the world origin. And so if you just go down 10 meters, there's going to be death. Okay, so if you were to walk over here and go, ah, and then you're dead. So, it makes sense. Like if you're like, I don't know, like creating a lot of projectiles and the projectiles are falling off the world, it just cleans them up. But if you try ever doing like a valley or something like that, you run into the valley and die. So that's that's something that oftentimes students will set to below wherever the bottom of their canyons are, right? And so like if you were like down here somewhere, you could like sort of eyeball it and be like, all right, I'm going to move the kill plane to like negative 100 meters or something. Velociraptor, nice. Okay, so let's talk about lighting. So right now, we've got a fairly pleasant, well-lit world, right? What mood would you say that this world has right now? Because that's really what lighting is about. It's about two things. It's about being able to see things, right? Like being able to see the demons that are jumping out at you, being able to see the key card on the desk that you need to pick up, being able to navigate around. Like lighting has like a utilitarian, like a very practical purpose, but it also has a very powerful emotional message that you're sending to people. It's pretty neutral right now. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. It's lit up. You feel safe. The lighting inside of the house is kind of warm, but it doesn't really make sense why they would have a light on inside of the house right now, because it's like noon. They're just wasting power. I don't know. So watch this. So there's a few different types of lighting, and the biggest one is the sun, right? So if you click on the sun over here, that's actually the sun right there. It doesn't look like it. It looks like the sun's way up there, but you can't click on that. Okay. Instead, you can click on the sun right there. If you go to the world outliner, you will see it is called directional light. Now, the reason why it's called directional light is because all of the photons coming from the sun are traveling in the same direction. Technically, the sun is shooting out light in all directions like this, but we're so far away from the sun that for all intents and purposes, all of the photons are coming in exactly the same direction. That's why it's called a directional light. All the light is coming in the same direction. So how do we mess with the sun? Well, if I slide it around, you see it doesn't really do anything, right? Because the sun, the actual location of the sun doesn't matter as much as the direction. So if you have the sun clicked, and one thing I like to do is I like to actually rename it, right? So F2, and I will just call it the sun, like that. And then if you ever need to find the sun, you can just come up here and search for the sun, and there it is. You can see the sun is a directional line. Okay. So these icons here don't appear in the world when you play the game, right? If you look up there, you don't see all those icons there. What they are like placeholders, right? These icons here give you the ability to manipulate the sun when you're in editor mode, but they don't actually appear in the game. You don't see these icons here. So with the sun selected, what you can do is rotate it, okay? And so watch what happens when I rotate the sun. Right? All the shadows lengthen, the color in the sky changes. Like, it's actually quite a lot of coding they put into this, right? Yeah. It's a different game now, all right? What's the mood now in the game? I used Control L when I did it. So, what's the mood in the game? This. So, give it worrisome that the sun's going down. Okay. If it's like a horror game or something. What mood do you feel when you're like looking at this? Get my face out of the way. Post-apocalyptic? Interesting. Okay. You can see that, because post-apocalyptic games and movies are typically very yellow and brown, right? I think it's peaceful. It feels nice. Yeah, see, for me, like, I like sunsets a lot. And so this kind of reminds me of like the time when like it's getting dark and you've been outside and you're going home. And you can see there's a nice warm glow from your house, you know, and it's like maybe dinner time. And, you know, to me, this is a very soothing color. But yeah, I could see the post-apocalyptic because it's kind of, you know, like those yellows and browns or palettes they use. Because there's a lack of textured environment. We need other things to look up to pick up the vibe. Yeah, it's fair. It's fair too. We have just a giant bar of silver in the middle of the world, right? So maybe we can do a little redecorating here. I don't know if I want to introduce landscaping to you guys just yet, but I'm going to do it. Why not? So I'm going to go over to mode and choose landscape. And for the material, I'm just going to pick, oh Lord. That's going to take a while. For the materials, I'm going to pick like grass or something like that. Enable edit layers has to be turned on, and I'm just going to leave everything on the default. So what I did was I went to landscape. Normally we're in select mode, which is where you click on objects. But if you go to landscape mode and turn edit layers on, choose import material, brown grass, there, or just click on the little drop down and type in grass. It's the easiest way of finding it. And then hit create. And if you do that, then it will create a landscape for you. Oh. Grass is a little too high. All right, undo. I'm going to drop the grass down a little bit. Not very helpful. There we go. Okay, so I have now made a landscape. And so you now see that we're in like some sort of grassy scene of some sort. We're on like a chrome platform in a grassy area. The chrome kind of doesn't look good to me, so let me switch back into select mode. And I'll go to starter content, materials, and maybe I'll make our area here bricks. No, that's way too big. Yeah, the thing's all stretched out. You know what? I'm just gonna delete that. Oh wait, everything's floating in the air now. So let me make the landscape one more time. Going to move the landscape right to the world origin, like that. Grass, edit layers is on, hit create. Okay. Go back into select mode. You can see I'm getting some Z buffering conflict here because the platform and the landscape is exactly at the same height. And so whenever you have two objects at exactly the same height, sometimes one will draw on top, sometimes the other will. So this is called Z fighting or things like that. The Z buffer holds how far away pixels are from the camera. And so we can fix this by just deleting you. And now we've got kind of a nice little outdoor scene. Huh? Right? So I'll save that. I kind of like this look. Like I said, every semester I go with a different game that I just sort of make as my demo for students. So this one is kind of tranquil and peaceful and stuff like that. But yeah, let's say we want to make it post-apocalyptic. Well, okay. So if I go back and click on the sun, oh, I made my face too big. If you go back and click on the sun, then over here, you can see that you can actually adjust the color of the sun. All right. This is the, it says temperature, and a lot of students don't know what that means. So the white color coming out of a light is actually not, like, white isn't always white. This is something that when I was studying filmmaking was a constant headache to deal with. Your eyes are very good at compensating for the different color the sun has at different times of day, because the sun actually changes colors during the day. And so if you film, you know, one scene and then it takes too long to film the next scene, like you got to get things set up and stuff like that, the sun will move in the sky and the color of the sun changes. And then everything that was kind of bluish before is now kind of reddish. And there's, you know, white balance compensation that can adjust for some of that. But this is basically what it's talking about. So the color of white actually changes depending on the temperature of the light source. And so you can see it can be more bluish, it can be more reddish. Typically, if you ever buy light bulbs, have you guys ever seen a soft white light bulb before? So are they more bluish or are they more yellowish? Yellowish, yeah. So let's see if they have the color temperature here. 2700 Kelvin. Okay, so they're actually a fairly low temperature. And so a low temperature is more yellowish, a hotter temperature is more bluish. Okay, and so let's see if we can find a chart for this. Color temperature light bulbs. You didn't know that you'd be learning about home improvement and game development today, did you? So yeah, so you can see here the different colors are based on the temperatures of the light source. Okay, and these are more yellowish, these are more bluish. Okay, and bluish lights give a very clean, sterile kind of look. Garage lights are usually bluish in color, and typically in living areas we typically like to use more yellowish lights because they're softer and friendlier and remind us of nights around the campfire and things like that. So that's something you have to think about when you're making a video game. You do not want to have your lighting just be sort of haphazard, right? Like Cyberpunk had a lot of issues, right? Anyone here play Cyberpunk? It was CD Projekt Red's first big game since The Witcher. Yeah, so they say creators of The Witcher. Had a lot of bugs in it, but its lighting design, look at that. Okay, that's not accidental, right? That is a very deliberate choice, and it creates a very specific mood, right, in the game. And the game was buggy as hell. My daughter loved it. Like, she thought the bugs in the game were, like, every time a patch came out and fixed the bugs, she was like, no, don't fix the bugs. That's the best part. She could work for Bethesda. So, yeah, to be fair, like, seeing somebody riding down the street on a motorcycle T-posing is kind of fun. I mean, you know, just going to say. You know, you're in the final fight, Keanu Reeves is sitting there narrating to you, and Keanu Reeves is just standing in a corner T-posing. It's kind of funny. So, Hoteru, you know, it's all like neon, you know, this is creating a mood. You know, is this a warm and welcoming place? You know, all these neon lights, right? Glowing visors, like, you know, this is, you know, look at the lighting color in here, right? This is not a warm and pleasant, you know, camping trip. You know what I mean? Like, it's, you know, you have these bright neon colors. Human life is cheap. You know, like, you can tell a lot about the world. Like, even if I didn't tell you anything about Cyberpunk, like, you could guess what sort of world it was just by looking at the lighting. And that's, you know, for all of its faults, like, Cyberpunk 2077 had like a pretty fantastic like lighting design, I would say. Got these holographic koi fish, or whatever, floating in the sky. There's a parade at one point where and there's all these holograms and neon colors going down the streetlights. Pretty, very pretty. More industrial areas here, and you can tell immediately what this neighborhood is just by looking at the lighting. Okay, there's Keanu Reeves, of course. Okay, so you're so disappointed. Yeah, I 100%ed Cyberpunk 2077. I'm not really sure why. I think it's just because I had waited so long for that game to come out, and I, had bought a new graphics card, and I was just like, all right, I got it, all winter break to do this, and so I 100% of the game, which was a hellish slog. Not a fun game to 100%. Play the OG buggy game, Fallout New Vegas. Yeah. Fallout New Vegas is, in my mind, one of the greatest RPGs ever made. Baldur's Gate 2, Fallout New Vegas, Divinity Original Sin 2. Yeah, maybe Skyrim. It's not really that good a game, though, in and of itself. With mods, maybe. Yeah. Skyrim as just the base game is kind of like, okay. It's a big world, but it's just kind of okay. Yeah. But with mods like Skyrim, I'd probably put up there too. Okay. Yeah, one of my friends was one of the main people on Fallout New Vegas. I brought her in to lecture. No, maybe not a friend, maybe an acquaintance, whatever. But I brought her in to lecture for my game development class a few years back. Get spell lots for Skyrim, yeah, for sure. Okay, so here we are. So we've got this thing where we want to work on the lighting design. Maybe right now it's kind of peaceful, and we want to go with Samantha's idea of post-apocalyptic a little bit more. So, we can mess around. Turn off shadows looks really bad. One of the things that I want to encourage all of you to do is to just click on things, right? Like, just, what happens if the sun doesn't affect the world? Oh, it gets pretty damn dark, huh? Right? Don't use the temperature, right? Don't cast shadows. If you don't cast shadows, it looks really artificial and fake. This is like what video games looked like in the late 90s, right? When shadows were too expensive to mess with. So it just looks bad. So what I recommend is just go around and just click on these things. What is the intensity of the sun? I don't know. Let's make it 10 times bigger. Boom! Oh wow, yeah, it's bright now, right? And then if you ever screw up, do you see how there's a little undo icon here? Just click that, and it actually changed itself. It wasn't back to 3. Okay, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so it must have adjusted its brightness because I rotated it. So the thing is actually quite smart. And as you rotate it, it actually changes the temperature color, and it changes the brightness and things like that. It creates a sunset. It's actually quite a dramatic lighting system they just kind of give you for free out of the box. But yeah, you can always click on the arrows here to reset them back to their default value in case you break things. Light shaft occlusion is pretty cool. Let's see if we can get a light shaft. Yeah, okay. I don't know if it's coming through, but do you see how the sun is casting a light shaft right here off the top of the chair? I don't know if I can make it clear for you guys, but it's a very subtle effect right now because there's not a lot of fog in the area. But right there, see how there's a light shaft. Did Unreal Engine 4 have shadows? Oh, yeah. I'm talking about the 90s. Unreal Engine 1 probably even had shadows, because Unreal Engine 1 was 96 or 97. Unreal Tournament. 98, maybe? 99. Okay, yeah. So the first one was in 99. And, I don't know. I don't really see any shadows here. Let's see. That's Unreal Tournament 2004. Really? Yeah, they have a little circular shadow underneath them, which is a real cheap way of doing it. That's 2004. Yeah, maybe not. It looks like they had a that's 2004 also. It looks like they had a really primitive shadowing system in 99. Yeah, UE4 though came out like 7 or 8 years ago, and it most definitely had shadows in it for sure. The trailer for Unreal Engine 5, you don't have to write UNRE, you can just type UE. That's what most people do. UE5 has a really neat new lighting and shadowing and modeling system called Lumen and Nanite, and that's new, but like Unreal Engine 4 had shadows and things like that. So, is there a way to replace the sun with an image? Probably. The entire thing, yeah, like the skybox could like be replaced. So you do that if you wanted. The sun itself, I don't know if it has an image you can put on it. Maybe. Never, you want to have a happy face in the sky or something like that. I've never tried that before. But yeah, there's just lots and lots of options here. Light shaft bloom. Yeah, there we go. All right. So that's pretty garbage looking bloom. Look at that. Yeah, that's pretty horrible actually. Bloom scale, let's cut it down by factor 20. Yeah, it's a little better. Yeah, it's okay, guys. I don't like that flickering though. Like the flickering bugs me more than like maybe some people, so I'm just gonna turn that off. Okay, so let's make it post-apocalyptic. So we got some kind of darkish sun in here. Like I said, you can go through and adjust all of these things, like kind of make whatever mood you're looking for. What I'm going to do is I'm going to for fog up here in the world outliner, and you can see that there is fog already in the level right here, and it's actually way below the surface, and there's a reason for that. Exponential height fog is kind of like a low-lying fog that adds like fog in like 3D space kind of. And I'm actually going to rename you to be the fog. Oops. The fog. Just not okay. There we go. Right. The fog. All right, and then the fog. If I zoom back up to here, come up above the world. The fog, you can do things like edit the fog density, right? And it becomes a lot more foggy, and the fog height fall off. And again, these are just things you just kind of sit there and play with. It's really foggy. Right? Reset those back to defaults. And you can actually click and drag on these things, so you can kind of see what they look like. Just kind of play with it a little bit. Max opacity. I'm actually going to delete the existing fog, and I'm going to put out new fog. I'm going to have it be right here at around the world origin. Okay. There's a reason for that. So the fog was too far down below the surface. Okay, so this up, drag it down. Set the max opacity to 0.5, which means it can like block about half the light there. You can see how fog kind of gives it kind of a soft feel to it. A lot of times you can use fog. You always want to have fog in a level, even if like you don't even think of it as like a foggy day. And the reason for that is because anytime you're on Earth, there's actually effectively fog around you. And the reason for that is that when sunlight comes through the atmosphere, it hits particulate matter, right? Especially if you live in like Fresno, right? There's a lot of particulate matter in the air, and the sun comes down and hits the dust and pollution in the air, and it bounces off in different directions. And so it actually gives everything, it gives everything a nice soft feel to it. If you actually turn off fog, it creates, let's see, fog density of 0. It actually just makes everything look really sharp, right? And it's actually not very realistic. Like if you're on the moon or something like that, yeah, you don't want to have fog, because then everything is just, it's harsh, and there's sunlight, and the sunlight doesn't go anywhere, right? Like the sunlight's just traveling straight ahead. It doesn't reflect off things. And it creates that very harsh alien space environment, right, when there's just no fog whatsoever. And so even if like you don't want it to be like a foggy day, you always want to have some fog in the level and just have it at a very kind of low, almost imperceptible level, because that makes the game look right to the human eye, right? Like right now there's fog in the level, and it just kind of softens everything a little bit, and it looks nice. And if you want to do like a magical misty mountain morning or something like that, then you kind of turn the fog up and make everything look wet and kind of rainy and mystical and stuff. If you want to do Fresno, then you can change, like let's do that. So we can change the color of the fog, and so anytime you have a color thing like this, you can always click on it, and it'll pull up a color picker. Or it should. Okay. Now you're not doing it. There we go. Okay. And you can, kind of drag this around, and you can see the world kind of respond to it. I have the fog kind of turned down a little bit. So turn the fog. Too much. Too much. Turn off secondary fog. It's more yellow. Like that doesn't really look post-apocalyptic. That just looks like you're on Venus or something like that. Let's see. If you're going for like Fresno during like fire season, something along those lines. Like maybe a little bit more red. Maybe that looks pretty good to me. Okay, so yeah. So now we've got like, Fresno in summer, right? This has a very different feel from like the, kind of nice, peaceful sunset kind of thing. Yeah, you can change the color of the fog. Yeah, absolutely. And you can actually have 2 layers of fog. So there's one layer here and then a second layer there. If you want to have different like levels to the fog, and max opacity. If you set the starting distance up a little bit, then you can make the fog start like, this is 17 meters right now. So the fog doesn't start until 17 meters away from me. So that allows you to kind of like see the area around you in good detail, but still have like thick fog around it. This is very commonly used in video games to hide loading. Right? Like if the game's loading the map ahead of you, like you put in some fog, and then when the things pop in, you don't notice it. So yeah, so like fog and lighting and the landscaping and the materials, all these things are about mood, right? And they're all things you need to be very deliberate about and think very carefully about when you make your game, because you will all make a game in Mexico Breaking Bad. Or the Middle East in any Hollywood movie. Apparently, it's. I don't know why they think the Middle East is like. Like apparently, let's see. Yeah, it's always like these like yellows and browns, and there's dust everywhere, and like that's just I don't know. It kind of bugs me a little bit. So yeah, so we can do that. Volumetric fog turned on. This is actually really important, volumetric fog here. Volumetric fog actually creates realistic fog. And so you can actually see the fog. If I turn it up a little bit, it might be a little more. You can see how the fog is now, like the light radiates off the sun and then bounces around. So volumetric fog actually turns on. If I turn it off, turn it on, it actually creates like realistic fog. Let's start distance at 0. Opacity of 1. Okay. And you can see like the light shafts are a lot more visible now, right? Right up there. And so it creates like actual. You put a wall or something. Maybe you can make that help. Cube. The fog, like you can see right there, like the fog is taking the sunlight and then like radiating light back out. It's a really cool effect. Like I love volumetric fog. Like when I was in grad school, I actually wanted to do my master's thesis on clouds and fogs. Like that was actually how much I like the topic. You can also see it coming off the, there you go. You can also see it kind of radiating off the character. So you can see the light bouncing off the fog there. Yeah, volumetric fog is just super cool. There's a little bit of shimmering up there that I don't like. Yeah. It creates realistic looking fogs. There you get to see the shadows of the person. What was that? Oh. Bruh. I forgot about that. And then you can see the volumetric fog. They're picking up the light that we put inside of the house. Right there. So the light, the fog's actually shimmering, with the light radiating from it. No, you almost have the best picture. We're stand back in front of the sun. Sure. How about that? Is that a good? I'll just screenshot that if you want. No, maybe I'll do it. I come bearing easy homework assignments. Be not afraid. Okay, I'm legend. Yeah. Okay, what do you guys think? Pretty cool, right? It's kind of fun stuff to play with. Like I mean, this is one of the reasons why game development I find just fun to teach, because you just get like, all right, Samantha said post-apocalyptic. All right, I'll go with it. Let's do it. And maybe we can make it's still a little bit too yellow. I think like maybe it needs to be a little more. Switch for the sun. Maybe we can adjust color of the sun to be a little warmer. Yeah, that's starting to get Fresno summer vibes right there. Yeah. There's 1,700 fires going off in the national parks.
Bruh.
Bruh.
Bruh. Bruh.
All right. It's fun stuff. So, yeah. So you can... one thing like students will try to do is they'll try to put fog in the map, and only one fog actually works. So if you've already got a fog in the world, an exponential height fog already in the world, which you do in your starting template, don't add a second one. or if you want, you could do what I did, which is I deleted the one in the world, and then I dragged out a new one, and I put it on the about the world origin. Because, like I said, the exponential height fog has like height to it, and so like if you move the fog up and down vertically, like it can adjust. Like I'm not really seeing any difference here, but it can affect the fog in the world. So I kind of like having it like right around here, and kind of right there maybe. So that's fog. You can adjust the fog color, the sun color. These things all interact in different and interesting ways. I'm just gonna go with. Ooh, that's pretty. Huh. That's a cool effect. I mean, I wouldn't want to play this as a game because you can't see anything. Okay, all right. You can't see anything, but it's kind of cool. It's kind of neat. All right, I'll just put this back up at white. There we go. Okay. Whee! And then for the sun, I'm going to. Adjust the direction the sun is to. Make the sun a little bit more sunny. Color of the sun's still weird. Okay, so put sun back at 111. It's a little too bright. Let's go back to the fog. I'm going to turn the fog density down. There we go. It's still kind of hiding the clouds. Fog's max opacity, 0.01. There we go. So, a little bit foggy in the distance, maybe a little too much. 0.05. There we go. So we got a nice soft, like fog that's not really even noticeable anymore, right? Like if you really looked at it, you could see like, you know, the sunbeams coming off the sky. But I think for now, this is kind of, it's a little harsh. It's a little bright. But I don't really know what game I'm making right now, but I think I'm just going to go with this so that you guys can at least see. you as students can see what's going on. If everything's like pitch black, like it's hard to teach a class. So I'm just going to put it back to like some sort of like summertime, you know, like very light amount of haze in the sky, you know, like Fresno summers when it's not fire season. A little bit of haze, not a lot, not really enough you'd even notice it really if I didn't tell you it was there. But you can still see like, you know, there's like little, very indiscernible almost bits of fog. Okay, so that's the sun. That's the fog. We talked about point lights before. We can talk a little bit more about them. Let me put a building together real fast. So we got this monolith of the thing here. Pull it up, hit end, snap it down. Alt, drag, rotate around, what's it, the red axis, the x-axis, 90 degrees, snap that over there, and end to snap it down, and left, put it over here. Drag over here, and then we'll rotate it 90 around the y-axis to make a vertical wall, and then end to snap it down, and I'll pull this in a little bit, and I'll just drag it down. There we go. So we made a little building here. Okay, it's got a slight gap. So and the roof I'll just one tick. Okay. So let's talk about point lights. I got this building here. I don't know what it is going to be. Like maybe I'll have. Oh, now you can still see there's some seams up there. That's one of the reasons why I like using. Oh, it crashed. No. Oh, it's chaos too. They caused it to crash. Interesting. I wonder how much I lost right there. Okay. Can there be a way to add smells to Unreal Engine so we can smell the burnt wood smell? Just open your window. It's the 4D experience when you're in Fresno. Just go outside. Let's try restoring these things. Cannot be successfully checked out from source control. Uh-oh. Open your window. All right. Oh, wow. Yeah, okay, we lost a lot. Wow. Okay. Jeez. All right, save all. Let me make a little house again or something. Okay. So, yeah. Remember, everyone, save all is life. And I do as I say, not as I do. All right. I'm just gonna recreate this really fast. Doop. And since these are all the same size, I'm actually just going to use them as sort of a... Like, how far apart do you put your walls? Well, if you want to make a cube, then you can use the top piece as kind of the way of measuring where the right piece should go. If you want it to be sort of proportional. Okay, looks good. No seams. I got a little bit of overlap, but not too much. Okay. Alt drag out to here. Rotate 90 degrees around the y-axis. And it won't work. It's already touching. It was snap it down here. It's one up. There. Okay. Save all. Thank you very much. Hit play. And I kind of like this lighting, so I guess it's okay. The fog, I'm going to have to redo. Okay, so now we got this building here. You can see it's like dark on the inside, right? So like, this isn't good game design, right? Like you need to light the building. Okay. Outdoors is lit okay using the directional light over here. I'm going to turn volumetric fog back on. The fog, it doesn't even have the name. Directional. Oh, okay, the sun is called the sun, but fog. Man, we lost a lot of time there. All right, the fog. Okay, what the fog? All right, so we will put on volumetric fog and then hop right back up to the sun. See, the fog is like way below the world, right? I don't want to fly up there. I'm just going to double click and it zooms me up there. And these things I am going to group together, and I'm going to call it. Where did you go? There. I'm going to call it. Okay, it's just the cube. All right. So we got our house here now. Lighting. Okay. This is not great game design. Like if you have monsters in there, or whatever, you're not going to be able to see them. So what you need to do is think about how do you light this space, right? Like maybe we're going to have a second story in here. Maybe this will be like a glass-fronted building. Maybe it's like looking out over the ocean. There's a lot of places in San Diego I've been to where they're actually kind of shaped like this. Like this would be like a pretty typical second 2-story building, like in PB or something like that. You'd have a little sidewalk here that people walk along, little front yard, sidewalk, and then it'd be like the beach right here in the ocean. And then this is just all glass, basically. And so you got your kitchen, living room, bedroom up here, and this is all glass facing outwards. Does it not autosave every few minutes? It does every 15 minutes, but I think it was, yeah. Yeah, you'll see down here it'll say auto-saving. So I could put glass in. Yeah, okay. Let's do that. Actually, I'll just reuse. Nah, whatever. I want this to be thinner than the other. So I'm going to make it a real narrow pane of glass. Scale it up. Actually, I'm going to shoot something cool. Okay. Nah. I don't want to get too far off topic. Yeah, so we have this thing here, and I'm going to go down here and choose glass. I was going to show you how to cut a door into it, but do we not have glass in the starter content? Glass. Okay. And then the trouble is this is going to block us from walking in, so we need to cut a door in. I'm going to just kind of cheese it a little bit and just have it covering the second story. Is this workflow like cool for you guys? Am I, like, do you understand what I'm doing here? I'm just like kind of moving and like, just like moving, rotating, scaling, just kind of getting the pieces of the puzzle in place. Like it's not, like I don't want to be baffling you guys what I'm doing, but it's kind of what we covered on the first day of class, right? So here we have the glass up there. Yeah. Cool. And then maybe I'll just kind of cheese it a little bit by doing that. Coach Bill locking down. Yeah. So we got so I'm trying to avoid seams on it. Whatever, they're different panes of glass. That's actually not too bad. Okay, so we got our glass fronted building here. I'd probably clean that up a little bit if I cared more about it. That's not really the point for today. The point for today is that we're going to build like an interior zone for your level. Like maybe you're going to have like an item in there, like the person has to go in and collect the vaccine for the zombie plague or something like that. And you can't see anything; it's dark. Okay, so what you need to do is come over to the lighting tab over here and like look at your options. Okay, so. Directional light is the sun. We've already got one. Probably don't add a second sun. It'd be confusing to people unless you're like in Star Wars or something, where you got binary sunsets and things like that. Probably don't add another sun. That's a bit excessive. Now, a point light, we've talked about that a little bit. You can drag out a point light, and you can see a point light basically works like a light bulb. It just kind of radiates light in every direction, and this is like kind of acceptable for a lot of purposes. Like if you just want to light an area, you just kind of slap a point light inside of it, and you're kind of done. Like if that's like your only concern, like okay, there you go, it's lit on the inside. Yeah, move on with your life, right? Typically, we will put some sort of like prop out there so that like the light's not just like kind of coming from nowhere. Like maybe we'll slap a wall sconce or something like that. Wall, and have that light bulb. What? So the wall sconce, and then the light bulb. You just kind of put it above it like that. That looks a little bit more realistic. People are sometimes confused by light just kind of coming out of nowhere. So there you go. So you got like should be centered, huh? These are the kinds of things that in game development I spend way too much time doing. It's like, oh, the light's crooked, you know, and you go back in there. And, all right, you know. Oh, there's a seam between the two glasses. That looks actually pretty good. Okay. Actually looks pretty nice. What do you guys think? You can tell me it looks terrible if you want, but like, I think it looks pretty nice actually. So. And then we put one on the other side, of course. Zoop. So I selected both of them, and then I alt-dragged, so the light bulb and the sconce came at the same place, so I don't have to recenter the thing. I'm going to rotate it 180 degrees, and then pull it against the wall until it snaps in place. And this is actually, like, you know, pretty good. Like, you know, this is like, you know, it's fine. If there was something in particular that I wanted to do with the environment, like if I was doing like a Jurassic Park thing and the monsters are getting out and stuff like that, I might have the lights flickering. I could have broken lights or lights that are kind of like toppled over. That might be a clue to the player, like, oh, some velociraptors have come through here before. You know, be on the lookout. So there's all sorts of things like that that I'm just not going to do right now. But they're things you should think about, right? Because lighting is one of those great ways of giving clues to players about what's going on, right? If you see, you know, a sign of conflict, right? There's been fighting in here. Something happened. You know, be on the lookout. Be cautious, right? Whereas if all the papers are stacked nicely and all the lamps are up, you know, you're like, oh, it's, you know, it's a different thing. It's a different message you're sending to the players. Now, you can see here this white ball around the light bulb. And the ball is what's called the attenuation radius of the light. And I clicked on the glass on the light. Click on the light. And what that kind of means is just like the area that the light affects. You don't want the attenuation radius being too high because then it might slow down the game as it's trying to process the lighting of like 500 million lights on every object in the world. So I wanted to add dinosaurs in my game, but you have to pay in the marketplace. Some free assets. Okay. So there's the Kraken. Like, that's a... I don't know if it's a dinosaur exactly, but kind of cool. It's free. It's animated. One of the students used it in his final project. Like basically, there's a Kraken running around trying to eat you, and you're trying to escape. That was his final project. Okay, so yeah, this is like okay, you know, and again, like the color of the light is sending a message. Is this a house or is this more of an office? What do you think? The way the lighting looks right now. Does this look more like a residential lighting, or is it? Yeah, you're right. So what's the assignment for today? The assignment for today is to build. Is to use fog and directional lighting to construct a mood. All right, so office because the lighting's very white. Exactly. Yeah, this to me feels like an office building, like a high-end, sort of sterile office building. You know, there was a movement a while back to like eliminate cubicles, and they had these things called open office spaces where just everybody's in the same room together talking over each other. This kind of, you know, could be something like that. And you know, maybe we could put in like a second story here. That's kind of what I was going to go with. Let's see here, cube, and put this up here. Yeah, and people kind of hated it. Like cubicles exist for a reason, even though people hate cubicles as well. Sort of soul crushing. Having your own office is nice. Attach that there. Then I'm going to scale it up in 2 directions. I should have moved the pivot point. Snap stairway. Maybe a curved stair. See how this looks. Number of steps. Let's take it up to 20. Need to widen this just a bit from there. Move it left a tick. Okay. It's sticking out the backside. No. Good. Okay. I mean, it's kind of an awkward. It's kind of an awkward stair. Let's put it forward a little bit, and then add like a little landing up there. What do you guys think? Something like that? So for your homework assignment, you're going to have to tell me what mood you're trying to create. And then you're going to... should have set the whole things, materials. Let's see here. Geometry, brush, there we go. Material, basic wall, I guess. There we go. Basic wall meaning, yeah, this white plastic color. There we go. So, there we go. Got up, did it. Man, I got a little gap right there. I'll just fix it this way. There. Okay. So, yeah, come up with a mood. Use slanted walls as stairs. Yeah, you can do a ramp or something, but I don't know. We're going for an office. It's kind of like. Color doesn't match. So this is basic shape material, and this one is select matching brush, basic wall. So we want basic shape. What's the name of the thing? Let's try basic floor. Let's see if that makes a difference. Did you guys see that? It's like a slightly off. Yeah. Kind of looks nice, actually. Honestly. Maybe we'll just switch both of these to that material too. Basic floor. There we go. Get a little two-tone look going on here. So the walls are white, and the flooring stuff is this kind of blue color. Yeah, I could go for that. Okay. Now, next big thing for today is the spotlight. So spotlights aren't exactly the same as directional lights. They are like light bulbs, but you can think of them as a light bulb that shoots light in one direction. Okay, and these are obviously used a lot in theater production, things like that, movie making. There's a lot of spotlights, and you might even have heard the term like "in the spotlight," or like "I'm going to spotlight that fact." And the reason why that is a term is because the way the human brain works is that when there's light shining on something, like when a spotlight shines on something, it draws our attention to it. And our attention is the most important thing that we have. It's the most important gift you can give to another person is to pay attention to them, right? And you can use that in video games to draw attention to things. And for example, if there is, like I said, there's like the safe here or whatever holds the vaccine that you need to win the game. Let's put out a shelf right here. And we'll place bigger. Let's say this is the safe. Did I miss it? No. It's because the shelf has no collision on it. So I'm just going to place it manually in place. Okay. So let's say that is kind of like our objective, right? Now, when we walk into this world, into this room. You know, you can see there's office lighting, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, maybe I'll check under the stairs. Yeah. It's a good place for a secret. Walk up here, like look around. Like, I don't really see anything, right? And then you jump off and continue on your way. Now, you don't want players to do that, right? Because that thing right there, you're going to have like a little trigger box on it, and you're going to be like, when they pick it up, you know, announce, oh, I've got the vaccine. It's now time to cure the zombies, right? But the way that it's set up right now, it just looks like a background decoration, right? Like, you guys know what I'm talking about? Like, you're just kind of like, I don't know. You know, maybe because this is literally the only object in the building, and why would somebody build a stairway and a floor and a shelf? You know, maybe somebody would go up and touch it or something. But like in a world where there's a lot of stuff going on, like that kind of stuff just fades into the background, right? Like we're just used to having like bookshelves and, you know, televisions and, you know, test tubes and things like that, just background material, right? So what you do in a video game is you do this. You take a spotlight, and you do something like that. I'm going to make it pretty obvious right now. Then in practice, I would turn it down. So you're here. You're like, oh, there's a stair. Like players, if they see a stair, they're gonna like check behind the stair for a secret, right? Okay, and then they're gonna run up the stairs, and then they're gonna look around and look. Damn it, thing's not lined up properly. There we go. Okay, and then they're gonna go upstairs, and now, and I've turned this effect up like too high. It's actually kind of galling the way it is right now. But like, pay attention to me. Pay attention to me. There is a spotlight shining right on that object there. You know what I mean? So, you know, you can make it like red, you know, like, you can adjust the cone. So it's very tightly focused on, and then there's actually two cones for spotlight. That's not quite lined up. There. Okay. And gamers actually don't like this because it feels too much like they're being led by the nose, right? Like you walk in there and then there's just like this glowy, like, please touch me, you know, you know what I'm talking about? Like when there's a giant arrow in a game, like, hey, pick me up, you know, hey, right here is, you know, you're given a quest to find a magic ring or something. And then there's just this giant arrow like, hey, the ring is right here. Don't miss it, dummy. You know, like gamers are kind of like, come on, dude, give me some credit here. You know, like, come on. It's just nobody likes being led by the nose that blatantly, right? And a spotlight like this, yeah, I mean, it would work. You know what I mean? Like you can just make it super blatant, and maybe in your playtesting, like the playtesters run in. You know, and you're like watching them, and they like kind of look around, and they're like, oh, whatever, and they run out. You know, so maybe you have to make it more blatant sometimes. Like that's to me. I mean, I don't know. You got to do what you got to do. You know, but to me, that's probably a little bit too blatant. And just like, look at me, pay attention to me, and that's what spotlights are for. Spotlights. Can be used like for a practical purpose. Like if you have an overhead hanging lamp, you just put a spotlight in it and it casts light downwards. Like that's perfectly fine. But usually what you use a spotlight for is this. Like pay attention to this. And in this, like I said, this is a little bit too blatant for my taste. And in practice, I would probably have it turned down so low that like maybe you don't even notice it. But the human eye, like I said, the human eye is really good at paying attention to things that are spotlighted. You know, that's why they use them in theater. It's like spotlight focuses on that person, everyone goes, oh, and they look at it, you know? And so that is a lot more subtle. But, you know what I mean? But you're going to go up and you're going to touch the cursed box or whatever, because it looks kind of evil right now, right? You're going to go up and touch it, right? Like that's, you know, that's something that's going to happen. We could probably fix the collision on the shelf too real fast. You and is the collision. A lot of the assets, for whatever reason, don't have collision turned on. So, like, you can put a rock in the world, and actually, let me save everything before it crashes again. So, like, I don't know why, but like, yeah, you put out like a rock or something, you know, and then you like, oh, there's a rock. I can't walk through. Oh, wait, I can. Oh, wait. There's no collision on it. So if you want to add collision to things, and you're going to encounter this a lot, so I'm just going to show you right now before I forget. You can always double click on one of the objects. There's the rock, and then there's a collision tab right here, and you can just go like auto convex collision and hit apply, and save, and now. Now, when you go up to it, you bounce off of it. Okay, and it kind of generates a collision. Crash? No? Okay. And it generates a collision fairly accurate to the model itself. Okay. So for the shelf over here, shelf, double click on it, go to collision, auto convex collision, apply, save. Just gonna close it out. So what do you all think? Do you think that we should have the spotlight brighter or dimmer? Yeah, see how I can't walk through the shelf now, right? I can jump on it. I can walk through, maybe. No, maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, so I don't just walk right through the shelf now. Okay. Felt a great service in the Force. So it's not a hey, you're looking for me, but it is in a way. Yeah, it's you've been trying to figure out how to turn on collision. Yeah, see if you're gaming. All right, fair enough. Yeah, and so sometimes you got to make it obvious. A lot of times, less is more. Just even like this is one. This is like one candle of light, and we could probably even turn it down like half a candle, and that would still be enough for the human perception system to be like something about that box. You know, I should go check that box out. You know what I mean? Y'all with me on this? So spotlights, anytime you have like a key item, anytime you want people to pay attention to something, spotlight it. And yeah, even if it's just really subtle, even if it's down at a level almost below conscious perception, let me turn the lighting back to white. I'm gonna make it really faint. I'm gonna cut it down to 1/10 of a candle. Let's see if that's consciously perceivable. Maybe not. That might be a little bit because the light from the light bulb over there is kind of overwhelming the spotlight a little bit. Yeah, can't really tell with that. Maybe 0.5. Any questions about that? Point lights radiate in all directions. Spotlights point in one direction. Yeah, that's probably okay. Directional light is the sun. Landscape, we can talk about next. And what time does the class end again? 2:50, something like that. Bruh. 2:50, yeah, I thought it was 2:50. Okay. So, yeah, I'll go into landscaping next. Because if you're going to create a mood, a landscape is kind of important. So, yeah, I'm kind of liking this right now. Probably put some more stuff down here. I need a floor, right? Probably need a floor. Slap a floor down here. Squish it in. And And we'll set you to basic floor material as well. So now we're not walking grass inside of our office building, right? Yeah. You can probably build a door frame in there and stuff like that. Yeah, it looks a lot nicer, I think. And then I could put like a table in there and chairs. Potted plants. I don't know. It's not really too many options in the starter content, but yeah, something like that. Just kind of make it clear that it's a. Kind of make it clear it's an office complex. Okay, cool. So, all right. So, what if we wanted to? What if we wanted to have the frame here, or the corner frame is technically what's called. It looks like some sort of like Hellraiser lockbox or something. What if we wanted to make it pick upable? Okay. Does that sound like something fun for you guys? Having a key that you pick up, some key item that you pick up. You guys want to see how to do that? All right. First thing we're going to do is we are going to give the player an inventory, right? Because the player is going to pick up the item, right? So the character is found inside of the third-person folder, inside of the blueprints folder, inside of BP third-person character. This is kind of like the main program for your game. A lot of what you do is going to be inside of BP third-person character. Okay, so double-click on it. And I'm going to save everything before I forget. You can see inside of here, it's got things like what happens when you move the mouse, what happens when you do WASD, what happens when you hit the space key, that kind of stuff. Okay. So when you hit the space key, it jumps. When you let go of the space key, it stops jumping. When you hit W, it moves you forward. When you hit ASD, like these are the 4 different keys there. When you move the mouse, you yaw, which is this kind of rotation, or you pitch. The mouse doesn't have you roll, which would be kind of awkward. Probably a good thing. So here we are inside of the player, and we are going to make a variable. Okay. So the variable is going to be called. What do you think we should call it? Like key picked up or something like that. Take some suggestions from chat. What do you think we should name our variable that it'll hold? It's going to be a Boolean, true or false. Have we picked up the vaccine? Let's say for the zombie virus. I mean, this will work for any sort of like key item that you like pick up. Right? Key to the cure. All right. So right here, you can see there's a section called variables, and we're going to have things like player health and things like that are going to go into there. That'll be coming in an upcoming lecture, how to do a health system and damaging and things like that. For now, though, we're just going to click on the little plus there. This is how you make a variable. It's very important. You're going to be doing this a lot. So you can click on the plus there. And then the first thing you do is you give a name to your variable, and we're going to call it key to the cure. And it's going to be a Boolean. A Boolean means it's either true or false. You either have the key to the cure or you don't. And the little eyeball here means whether or not other people can edit this variable. Okay, is one way of thinking about it. So we are going to make it editable by other people, because what we want is when we walk over the key card, it'll delete itself out of existence, and it's going to set this variable on us to be true. Does that make sense? Like, we're going to make this public so that some other blueprint can be like, yes, you have the key now. And also other blueprints, like if you make a door or something that requires the key to open, they would be able to say, hey, is key to the cure true? If it is, open the door. If it's false, shoot the players. Okay. So Dino Fan is on board. What about the rest of you? Do you all get how to make a variable? Click the plus, give it a name, and then you normally give it a type. Boolean's actually the right type in this case. And then you click on the little eyeball. And so the eyeball goes from the sleeping student to the awake and active student who wants to get an A in the class. Okay. It's one of the troubles with online learning is you can't tell when people are sleeping through your class. You just have to talk louder normally in real life. Okay, and then whenever you make a variable, you have to immediately compile it and save it. The details tab over here will not appear until you have compiled and saved the... I guess you don't technically have to save it, but you should save! As we saw, it crashes a lot. So yeah, compile and save every time you change anything. And so now we got this variable here called key to the cure, and the main thing I want to look at over here is whether it defaults to having the key or not having the key. And I think it should default to not having the key, right? Like when you start the game, you haven't found the key yet, so the default value is false. Make sense? You can give it a description. Have they picked up the vaccine information? You can give a little description there. Yeah. Okay, so we're good. We'll dip out of here for now. And so this bad Oscar right here, we're going to make sure it is stationary. So normally the two that I use the most are static and movable. Static is like this wall here. This wall doesn't. It's not going anywhere, right? It's static. Movable means the thing will be able to move around, like the barrels and boxes that have physics on them and things like that. They move. Stationary is kind of in between. Stationary is like static. It can't move, but you can delete it. And so a stationary object basically has two states. It's in the world and it's not in the world. And so for something like this, we're going to walk over and pick it up. Stationary is the right thing to do. So we're going to turn this thing into a pick-upable object. I think we've all played video games where there are power-ups and items you can pick up and things like that, right? Giant mushrooms and Super Mario Brothers, drug-fueled adventures. You can hit question blocks. You can, if you're playing Metal Gear, you can pick up a literal key card. Cyberpunk, you pick up ammunition. Like, it's a very common thing, right? In video games to have a pick-upable, right? So let's do it. So I've got the thing selected here, and then I'm going to click on the flowchart looking thing here, and I'm going to click on that, and that is going to be a new blueprint. So I'm going to turn that thing into a blueprint. And make sure it's set to stationary first. You can edit it later, but if you have it as static and you try deleting it, it'll throw an error at you. So, okay, so that looks all fine to me. The place where I'm going to put it is, of course, my build directory. You can put it in your build directory as well, or your Samantha directory or Roberto directory or whatever directory you named it. So I'm putting in my build directory. And here we are. We are now in the blueprint editor. I'm going to save it before I forget. And you can kind of fly around in here and you can kind of examine the object. It does kind of look like something. Looks interesting. It's got things going on, right? Looks like something you pick up as a key item. So what we want to do is we're going to add to it a trigger box, right? So I told you last week that this viewport here thing is like a preview of what the thing looks like. You can also edit the thing. So after you've made the blueprint, you can actually add things. You can kind of stack things on top. And what we're going to put on top of it is click on the green add button right here. So I've got this thing selected. I click add, and I'm going to search for a trigger. Nope. Box collision. And this will be called like the pickup zone. I don't know. And so basically the pickup zone is going to be an invisible thing, right? That if the player walks into it, it activates. And so this is something, and you can like dip back out into the world And you can actually, it's not centered properly. Ew. All right. It's because the pivot point of the object is right here, right? So we need to move that to the center. That looks pretty good. Okay. Compile, save. Okay, good. So the you know, I think I'm going to make the pickup zone a little bit bigger because I don't want the player to have to jump on top of the shelf to get it. You know what I mean? Like I want the person just to be able to go up and like hit the shelf and then have the thing pick up. So I'm going to go back into the blueprint here and I'm going to scale it. I'm just going to scale it up a little bit. Yeah. Maybe one more tick here. I'm not scaling it upwards because I just don't want it sticking out the back of the wall, right? Because then people would be able to go behind the building and just tag it through the building, you know. So that's good. Yeah. So basically, you can kind of hop back and forth. In fact, if I was doing this for realsies, what I would do is have different windows. So I'd have this like open over here on one monitor, and actually, as you move things around on one monitor, you can actually see it in the world. Kind of cool, right? So I'm adjusting the size of that box on my blueprint viewport, and let's see, I don't think we need even that much height on it. I'm gonna shrink it down a little bit. I'm gonna pull it up because I don't think it would make sense for them to. No, that's too high. Like I don't want them to be able to like crouch and pick it up underneath the shelf. That'd be kind of weird. So as I'm editing, you know, I got this open over here, right, on my other monitor. So as I'm doing that, I can just kind of keep an eye in the world because when you're looking at this, you don't really have a sense of scale, right? Like you can't really see it in proportion to like the bookshelf or whatever that it's on. So it's really nice having a multi-monitor setup where you can kind of do that, and that's, I think, basically where I want it to be. Okay, I'm gonna snap that back over here, compile, save. And yeah. So basically, if the player ever hits that overlap zone, then what we're going to do is have the object delete itself from existence. Maybe we should delete the spotlight too, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. Probably we should have made the spotlight actually a component of this, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. Because, you know, you want the spotlight to go away now that the thing's been picked up. Right? There's nothing left there to see. Let's do the coding on this first. Okay. So we come back in here. We go to the event graph, and you can see that there is event begin overlap. Okay. And so what we want to do is, the first thing we always would do is print string, and we're just going to print hello. Okay. Compile, save, and I'm actually going to move the player start location over there, so I don't have to keep running over to the office every time. This is actually bad size. Yeah, thank you. Shoop. You don't like it? There we go. Okay. So I'm actually just going to move the player start actually right to this area over here. Rotate it so we're facing the thing. This is actually a nice little trick. Because like you saw how I had to keep like running over every time. Hello. Okay, cool. It worked. So it makes your development a lot slower when you have to like run through the world every time to like get to the place. And that's why cheat codes exist in video games. Cheat codes actually aren't there for players usually. The cheat codes are there because the developers like don't want to like have to play 100 hours of Skyrim to get back up to level 90 or whatever. So they just enter a cheat code and they're like, okay, I want to have this. I want to have alteration 100 and stealth 50, and they just and oftentimes they have a script and they just hit a button and it just sets their character the way they want, teleports them to the right place. They do the boss fight, they die. They're like, okay, reiterate, let's make the boss easier, and then they relaunch the game and just teleport right there again, and you don't have to constantly play through the actual game, which slows down your development quite substantially. So what does a compile button do? You click it every time. Yeah, it actually turns this into code. If you don't compile it, nothing will change, right? So if I delete the connection here and just, come over here, it might probably save it automatically, but auto things. But what compile does is it actually turns this into code. And if you do something wrong, like if you hook up, I don't know, the wrong kind of thing or something, I don't know, it'll give you an error, and it'll say you're doing something wrong. Okay. So very important, yeah. So I just compulsively hit compile and save, and in fact, I think you can save on compile on success only. Yeah. So basically, you can make it so that every time you hit compile, it hits save for you. But for me, like it's kind of like second nature. Just okay. So what we're gonna do is we want to say if the person touching us is the player, and we can do that to third person character. So this is a weird looking thing. It says cast to BP third person character, and the thing it's going to try and cast is the thing touching us. And you're like, what this does though? It does two things. First of all, you don't want the key card to be picked up if like a random squirrel touches it, right? You only want the key card picked up if the main character picks it up, and the main character is BP third person character. So only if the main character touches it do you want to pick it up. And so the cast 2 is basically saying if the person touching us is the player, then proceed. If it failed, it must be a squirrel or something. In this case, we're going to do absolutely nothing. If it's not the player, just ignore it. If a random ball touches us, don't pick up the thing. Okay. The second thing that the BP third person character cast 2 thing does is that allows us to access the variables on the player, the person, third person. Okay, so what we're actually going to do is we're going to drag off this blue pin here. Don't drag off the white pin; it won't work. Maybe you drag off the blue pin. Now that you know that it's a third person character, you know that the third person character has a variable called key to the cure, right? And we will set key to the cure to be true. Okay. So when the person walks over us, you now have the key to the cure, and the only other thing remaining to do is to destroy ourselves. And that's it. So compile, save, walk forward, and there we go. You have a pickupable item. Simple as that. Okay. Simple as that. And like I said, that spotlight bugs me. Like, like, let me go fix it right now. Okay, so I'm gonna delete you, and I'm gonna go inside of here. I'm gonna paste. Yes, paste worked. Okay, and it's pointed the wrong way. All right. Here. Rotato. There. I'm gonna center it. Rotato. Alright. Maybe. Let me swing it over here. Ooh, it doesn't like that for some reason. I wonder what the problem is with that. If it's set to static, it's not going to work. No, it's set to stationary. Okay, well, it worked. No, there we go. What is that next for? Huh. Weird. Okay. So, So basically what I did was I put the spotlight inside of the blueprint. So when the blueprint deletes itself, it deletes the spotlight as well. Okay. So the object comes with its own sort of highlighting system, right? So we're walking around the world, and you can see that it's got that little spotlight on it, which is enough for the human eye, the human brain to go, oh, that thing's probably important. And you walk over there, and then you pick it up. And it presumably plays an audio file like, this appears to have the records to end the pandemic. We should take this somewhere. You know, something like that, right? And you know how to do that, actually, right? Right? You know how to play a sound, right? Just play sound, right? You're going to have to record it. There's like voice recorder in Windows, which is kind of a terrible voice recording program. You can do it. Yeah, record yourself doing your own voice acting. When you pick it up, play the audio, and then later on, if you ever need to, like if you have a door or something that'll open if you have the key to the cure, remember this variable here on the player has been set to be true, and so later on you can have something, get the variable off the person. It will work exactly the same way as this, which I'll post this on here. No, that's not helpful. No. Not helpful at all. Let me screenshot it. Okay. Next, you can play sound. And then later on, like if you want to find out if the person has the key to the cure, same thing. You walk up to the door, begin overlap. You cast it to a third-person characters because you only want the door to open for the person, not for a random squirrel walking by or something. And then you say get key to the cure. That. And then you do a branch. And you say if key to the cure is true, then open the door, whatever, destroy myself. Just walk up to the door, vanishes. That's a simple way of doing it. Or if they don't have the key to the cure, then play a sound. I'm sorry. This door only opens for authorized personnel. That kind of stuff. That makes sense? And so that's how you can read and write to variables on the player. You have to cast it to the player. This does not work if you don't have this part here. Okay. So this part here, this node in particular, does two things. One, if the person touching us is the player, then do something. If not, do something else. And the other thing is that it opens up the ability to read and write variables on the player. You drag out from there. Okay. So we got 6 minutes left. Let's go over the landscape like real fast. So basically, to make a landscape, what you do is you go to the modes. There it is, modes window. Go to landscape here. And you're going to click on edit landscape layers, and the select and translate objects thing is actually really important. What you want to do is kind of move the origin of the landscape on top of the velociraptor, or perhaps like slightly like a little bit below it, if you want the landscape to be at ground level. And then I picked grass as the material for it. It seems like a nice choice. If you're going for some sort of other mood, you could go for like steel and have like a solid steel landscape or something like that. And once you're done with that, then you have this weird paintbrush looking thing here. Okay. And what this is the sculpting tool. So you can see right here, you have sculpting turned on, sculpt. And if you click and drag, the landscape goes up. Okay. So you can just make yourself a mountain. So it's like sculpting with putty. They don't look very good. The sculpting using the sculpting tool is actually kind of garbage looking. These are very weathered mountains. In real life mountains, especially if you're from like Western states where the mountains are newer. Maybe this is made by people in Appalachia or something, or Guilin, where the mountains are super like worn down and eroded. So you can just sit there and kind of play with it. Just click and drag. If you want the mountains to go down instead, hold down Shift and click. Shift and click lowers the mountain, so you make a little valley there or something like that. And there's all sorts of other tools that are kind of neat. Smooth kind of blends everything together. If you have like little pock marks and things like that, smooth kind of knocks them out. Like that thing right there looks kind of like that doesn't look very realistic, right? So I'm going to click and drag on it. You can see it just kind of smooths out the weirdness of it. Erosion is a fun tool. So erosion kind of simulates erosion. Kind of do that. And you can see that the makes them look a little nicer. Okay. Run some erosion over it. Then there's water, hydro, which simulates water dropping on the surface. And so you can simulate water kind of carving away at it. So the water is kind of cutting into the... no, not a crash. See how it's kind of looking... oh. No? Okay. See how it looks like the water is just kind of like eating into it. Kind of cool looking, I think. A little rough here, especially with those shadows. You know, it's a little rough. So I might come in with some smoothing and just kind of smooth it out a little bit here. You can adjust the size of the brush. So if you can make the brush really big, just have like Mount Everest over here or something like that. Yeah. You can make the brush really small for fine detail work. You can retop it. A ramp. You can, like, if you want to have a landscape ramp, you can do that. Where's the apply? Okay. So you see that landscape ramp I built right there? So you can see how it kind of flattened out the mountain. And so I just have a very nice path that just invites the player to go, you know, walking up. All right. So if you want to have like a different zone up here, you can do all of your landscaping and then just slap a ramp on it to smooth everything out. Let's delete it for now. I don't actually want the player. Come on, undo, delete. No. No, come on. Undo, undo, undo. Let's sculpt. Erosion. Hydraulic erosion. Smooth, sculpt, add ramp. Undo. The ramp's still there though. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Just because I had the tool open it. Weird. Yeah, alright. It's gone now. Yeah. So you can see that the thing is back looking pretty natural now. And that's it. So there you go. Little lesson on landscaping. There's better ways of making landscapes than using this weird like Play-Doh kind of method. It looks all right. You know, it looks all right. You know, this isn't the worst landscape I've ever created, honestly. And it's okay. I'm gonna maybe erosion and hydro this thing down a little bit, make it a little less tofu looking. Okay, so do you all understand your homework assignment? You are to craft a mood using fog and lighting and landscaping. There we go. Picked up the key card. Those little ribs right there, a little strange. Smooth them down a little bit, so a little less. Like they're kind of like catching the eye a little bit. Smoothing down. You can still see those ridges there, but like before, like it was really kind of like popping out at you. So yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm good with that. All right, that's it for today. I feel pretty happy about that. I don't know what direction this semester is going for the sample world, the sample game that I'm making, but it's not too bad so far. Okay. Have you ever heard of Gaia? I was leading to a separate software for landscape creation. It seems that one's popular. I've not used Gaia. They're landscaping, doing it correctly. Yeah, the built-in tools for Unreal Engine are not great. They're really not. I have I actually purchased some assets like this thing right here. Actually, this is actually one of the few things I actually spent money on. And this allows you to make like, nice like looking landscapes. Highly recommend it if you're like into landscaping and stuff like that. Like it looks just like you can see, it just looks a lot nicer. Yeah, and there's a lot of custom tools and things like that.
What is with that GIF?
Tofu, because the landscape looked like tofu. Okay, so that's it for today. If you all understand, then I'm gonna peace out. See you all on Thursday. Thanks.